He laughed, kicked a homeless veteran onto the street, and just 10 minutes later, his entire world came crashing down. If you believe kindness always comes back around, stay until the end, because this true-to-life story will leave you speechless. It was a freezing Tuesday morning in a small American town. The sidewalks were nearly empty as people hurried to work with hot coffee in their hands. Outside a busy convenience store sat an elderly homeless man wearing an old military jacket. His name was Walter. His beard had turned gray. His boots were worn out. His backpack contained everything he owned. Most people walked past him without making eye contact. Some dropped $1. Most pretended he didn't exist. Walter never begged. Instead, he quietly held a cardboard sign, "Veteran. Looking for work." God bless. Inside the store, the owner, Rick, watched Walter through the security cameras. Rick hated the sight of homeless people near his business. He believed they scared customers away. Without asking questions, without knowing Walter's story, Rick stormed outside. "Get away from my store," he shouted. Walter calmly looked up. "I'm not bothering anyone. Sir, I don't care." Rick snapped. "You make my business look bad." Walter slowly stood up and picked up his backpack. "I served this country," he quietly said. "I'm only trying to stay warm." Rick rolled his eyes. "I don't care who you were, you have 30 seconds. Then, in front of several customers, Rick grabbed Walter's backpack and threw it onto the sidewalk. Walter lost his balance and fell to the ground. Several people gasped. One young woman reached out to help him. Walter smiled politely. "I'm okay." Rick pointed toward the street. "Don't ever come back." Walter quietly walked away without saying another word. Rick smirked. He believed he had won. But karma was already on its way. Only minutes later, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. Then another. 3 people stepped out wearing business suits. They weren't ordinary customers. They were executives from a regional investment company. Rick had been negotiating with them for weeks. If everything went well, they planned to invest nearly $500,000 to help him expand his stores across the state. Rick rushed outside with a huge smile. "Welcome. I've been expecting you." The lead executive shook his hand, but his expression was cold. Before walking inside, he looked around, then he asked one simple question. "Where's the elderly veteran who was sitting here?" Rick froze. "You saw that?" The executive nodded. "We watched the entire thing." Rick's smile disappeared. The executive continued. "My father was a homeless veteran after Vietnam. People judged him because of his appearance. I promised myself I would never do business with someone who treats another human being like that." Rick's heart sank. He tried to explain. "It's just business. I didn't mean." The executive interrupted him. "No, it shows your character." He reached into his briefcase. Rick expected a contract. Instead, the executive pulled out a document. He tore it in half. Right in front of him. "The deal is over." Without another word, the executives climbed back into their SUVs and drove away. Rick stood frozen in silence. His biggest opportunity, gone forever. News of the incident spread quickly. One customer had recorded everything on their phone. Within hours, the video was everywhere. Thousands of people criticized Rick's behavior. Regular customers stopped coming. Online reviews flooded in. His once busy store became nearly empty. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened to Walter. The young woman who had helped him earlier posted his story online. She explained that Walter wasn't asking for money. He simply wanted another chance. The story touched thousands of hearts. A local veterans organization reached out. They helped Walter find temporary housing. Another business owner offered him a maintenance job. Former soldiers donated clothes. Neighbors donated furniture. For the first time in years, Walter had a place to call home. Several months later, Rick quietly visited the Veterans Center. He wasn't there to defend himself. He wasn't there for publicity. He was looking for Walter. When Walter saw him, he smiled. Rick lowered his head. "I'm sorry. I judged you before I knew you. I lost everything because of my own pride." Walter looked at him for a long moment. Then he said something Rick would never forget. "The hardest battles aren't fought in war. They're fought inside our hearts. If you truly learned your lesson, then your loss wasn't wasted." Walter shook Rick's hand, not because Rick deserved it, but because forgiveness sets the victim free. Rick left with tears in his eyes. That day, both men walked away richer than before. One had regained his dignity. The other had finally found his humanity. Because the greatest wealth isn't money, it's how you treat people who can do absolutely nothing for you. If this story touched your heart, remember this: you never know who someone used to be, you never know what they're going through, and one act of kindness can change two lives forever.